Thank you. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from South Carolina, Mr. Duncan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'm proud to participate in No Shave November to raise awareness of men's health, specifically prostate cancer and cancer in general, and I do so in honor and memory of the late South Carolina State Representative, my good friend David Umflett, passed away in 2011. Mr. Chairman, it's crystal clear to me that the Obama administration has put politics over the security of Americans' personal information. President Obama and Secretary Sebelius and other senior officials accepted an excessive amount of risk to Americans' information. Also, this flawed website could go forward to meet the Democrats' political agenda. I have a memo from September the 3rd, 2013, less than a month before the launch of the healthcare.gov website, from Chief Information Officer of the Center of Medicare and Medicaid Services, Tony Trinkle. And I'd like to enter this into the record.
Without objection, so ordered.
Approving authorization to operate the system underlying the ObamaCare health exchanges. Trinkle states the risk to CMS information systems resulting from the operation of the FFM, or ObamaCare. FFM stands for Federal Facilitated Marketplaces. Information systems is acceptable. But the memo then goes on to say, page after page, describing enormous risk to Americans' personal information. Page 2 discusses, and I quote, malicious macros. The threat and risk potential is limitless. Page 3, I quote, no evidence of functional testing processes and procedures being adequate to identify functional problems resulting in non-functional code being deployed. Page 4, I quote, many FFM controls documented in the security controls section of CFAX have an effectiveness of not satisfied. Security controls are not documented as being fully implemented. It goes on, I quote, ineffective controls do not appropriately protect the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data and present a risk to the CMS enterprise. These show serious concerns in the security of the ObamaCare exchanges. It makes clear that ObamaCare represents a clear and present danger to Americans' personal information. How could anyone with a technology background assess that with all this, that the risk was acceptable to move forward, which they did, and launched the website October 1st? Why weren't security officials in DHS and HHS and others sounding the alarm about the concerns raised by Mr. Trinkle? Is it in any way conceivable that these issues could be solved by the end of this month? And that's a rhetorical question. We may get back to that. In conclusion, Mr. Chairman, I find it quite convenient that in 2 days, Mr. Trinkle has decided to cut and run from HHS and go into the private sector, not to be accountable to the oversight functions of Congress anymore. The American people deserve accountability for the threat this administration has allowed to our personal information. I'd like to also share an article from South Carolina. A Columbia, South Carolina gentleman, an attorney, went on to the healthcare.gov website to browse for cheaper insurance for him and his wife. He entered in his information, just as you would normally do. A few days later, he had someone call him from North Carolina, and he says, I believe somehow the ACA healthcare website has sent me your information. That's what it looks like to me, Mr. Judson Hadley said, a North Carolina resident, who could access Tom's information on healthcare.gov. I think there's a problem with the wrong information going to the wrong place. Now, the article goes on to say that Mr. Hadley just entered into the website to try to shop for insurance for himself. And he was sent, this gentleman from South Carolina's personal information. He actually went to another link and clicked on it and actually had a PDF that he could print out on his computer of all of this gentleman's information. These are serious flaws. This wasn't a hacker. This wasn't someone trying to intentionally access Americans' private information. This was information sent to a third party by healthcare.gov. This website has serious problems. Americans are relying on this government to get it right. So I go back to the question that I had asked rhetorically a minute ago. Is it any way conceivable that these issues could be solved, Ms. Stempley, by the end of this month?
Again, sir, I respectfully submit that that question is best asked to the Department of Health and Human Services.
Are you aware of Mr. Trinkle's memo? Have you seen that?
I believe I saw that this morning, sir.
Okay. Well, it will be entered into the record. And, Mr. Chairman, thank you for having this hearing. Americans expect us to get it right. And if not, let's delay ObamaCare implementation until the government can assure Americans that their private information will not be stolen by a third party and their identity be taken that could cause serious financial harm to them and their families. With that, I yield back.
And I thank the gentleman for his insight.